Kindly welcome the guest with a big round of applause. Please be seated. In the world of professional gatherings and knowledge sharing, conferences are formidable platforms bringing together erudite thinkers, visionaries, and industry leaders. They serve as grand stages where ideas converge, collaborations are forged, and significant discourse is born. A very good morning, esteemed guests, speakers, panelists, and conference participants. Welcome to International Conference on Recent Trends in Science and Technology, Icrtst 2023, in the beautiful city of Mysuru. We are gathered here to exchange ideas and open discussions on recent trends in science and technology. It is indeed a golden opportunity for each one of us to enrich and enlighten ourselves. I am Jaslin F., Assistant Professor, Department of Electronics and Communication Engineering, and will be the host for the day. It's a mark of our undying tradition to invoke the Almighty at beginning of any event. I request Mrs. Keetana MM, Assistant Professor, Department of CSC, to invoke the Almighty.
आइए गणपति जगवंदना शंकर सुमन भवानी नंदन गाइए गणपति जगवंदना शंकर सुमन भवानी नंदन गाइए गणपति जगवंदना सिद्धसाधन गजवदन विनायक सिद्धसाधन गजवदन विनायक कृपा सिंधु सुंदर सबलायक मोदक प्रिय मुद मंगलदायक गाइए गणपति जगवंदना शंकर सुमन भवानी नंदन गाइए गणपति जगवंदना विद्यावारिधि बुद्धिविदाता विद्यावारिधि बुद्धिविदाता मांगत तुलसी दास कर चोरे विद्यावारिधि बुद्धिविदाता मांगत तुलसी दास कर चोरे बसही मानस मंगल मोरे गाइए गणपति जगवंदना शंकर सुमन भवानी नंदन गाइए गणपति जगवंदना
Thank you, ma'am. It was indeed divine. Now I take great pleasure in inviting Principal Dr. A.K. Murthy to the stage to present the welcome address.
Good morning, everyone. Warm welcome to the fourth International Conference on Recent Trends in Science and Technology, Icrtst 23 at ATME College of Engineering. ATME College of Engineering, affiliated to VTU, is committed to provide students with the best possible education and training along with research and innovation. ATME faculty members are actively involved in research projects funded by various government and industry agencies. ATME College of Engineering is known for its strong academic credentials and its focus on industry-oriented education. The college has well-equipped campus with state-of-the-art laboratories, libraries, and computing facilities. The college also has strong placement record, with many of its students are being placed in top companies in India and abroad. We are proud to have many feathers in the cap in a short span of 13 years. We received a QS iGauge Gold ranking, a NAC A+ accreditation. ATME is the 47th institution to get A+ grade in the first cycle across India. We have NBA accreditation for all the branches except the new allied branches, which is new. That will take some time. Otherwise, all the core and IT and non-IT branches are NBA accredited. ATME has created an ecosystem with education is just not limited to academics. It extends beyond the classrooms and labs to industry interactions, culture, social and sports events for all-round development of the students. Today's conference is a unique opportunity for engineers from all the disciplines to come together and learn from each other. We will be covering a wide range of topics, including artificial intelligence, machine learning, robotics, renewable energy, and many more. In addition to our technical sessions, we will also have networking events and social activities. These are great opportunities to meet new people and collaborate on future projects. I may take privilege of welcoming the dignitaries. I welcome our today's chief guest, Sri G. Sadananda Murthy, Director of Samparka Bindu, a leading engineering technology and operations. I welcome you, sir. Our keynote speaker has joined online, Dr. Suryamshi Aravind, General Manager, Technical Heading Group, RMX Concrete Operations. I welcome you to the conference, sir. He is in Jakarta, Indonesia. I take the privilege to welcome our Honorable Chairman, Sri L. Arun Kumar, and I welcome you, sir. Our today's guest of honor, Dr. Shakib-ur-Rahman, former Executive Council member of VTU and GC member of ATME. I welcome you, sir. I take the privilege to welcome our Honorable Secretary, Sri Shivashankar to this conference. He is busy with some schedule in his absentia. Also in their absentia, I welcome members of ATME trustee, Sri Veresh and Sri Venkatesh to the servant. I welcome Icrtst Director Dr. L. Basuraj. Welcome you, sir. Also welcome Dean Research Dr. Bhagyashree S.R. Dean Academics Dr. M.S. Govindagowda and Dean Student Affairs Dr. Etisha L. to this conference. I congratulate and welcome Professor Manu Vijay, Associate Professor and Head to the Civil Department and Organizing Chair of Icrtst 23. I welcome you, sir. Also, I welcome our Dr. Praveen MP to this event. I welcome you, sir. I welcome Administrative Officer Dr. Sachidananda Murthy. I take the privilege of welcoming all the heads of the departments, most importantly, all the participants, the guests who have come from outside, and my student friends. Before closing, I would like to congratulate organizing committee and the many volunteers who have worked so hard to organize this event. I would like to thank each one of you for attending. We look forward to a productive and informative conference. I wish you all a successful and enjoyable conference. Thank you once again for being here. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. I extend my heartfelt welcome to Dr. A.K. Murthy, Principal, ATME College of Engineering, to this inaugural function. Welcome you, sir. Now we'll have our traditional auspicious lamp lighting ceremony as a tribute to the goddess of knowledge. We acknowledge our reverence for wisdom and knowledge by lighting the lamp of enlightenment. I invite dignitaries on the dais to light the lamp as we officially commence our day.
कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरु त्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शत्रुबुद्धिविनाशाय दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तु ते दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तु ते दीपज्योतिः परब्रह्म दीपज्योतिर्जनार्दनः दीपज्योतिः परब्रह्म दीपज्योतिर्जनार्दनः दीपो हरतु मे पापम् सन्ध्यादीपनमोऽस्तु ते ओ दीपब्रह्मरूपस्त्वम् ज्योतिषां प्रभुरव्ययः ओ दीपब्रह्मरूपस्त्वम् ज्योतिषां प्रभुरव्ययः आरोग्यं देहि पुत्रांश्च मतिं स्वच्छां हि मे सदा रवेरस्तं समारभ्य यावत् सूर्योदयो भवेत् रवेरस्तं समारभ्य यावत् सूर्योदयो भवेत् यस्य दृष्टे गृहे दीपः तस्य नास्ति दरिद्रता शुभं कुरु त्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरु त्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यम्
Thank you, dignitaries. Now I call upon Dr. Shakuntala, Assistant Professor, Department of E&E, to introduce our today's chief guest, Mr. G. Sadanandamurthy, Founder Director, Sampark Bindu Solutions.
Very good morning, one and all present here. I am Dr. Shakuntala C, Associate Professor, Department of Electrical and Electronics Engineering at MECE. It gives me a great honor and privilege to introduce the chief guest of today's event, Icrtst 2023. We are honored this morning by the presence of the Honorable Chief Guest, Shri Gundlupete Sadanandamurthy, Founder Director, Sampark Bindu Solutions, an entrepreneur, technocrat, and leader with more than 2 decades of experience delivering products. Proven track record demonstrating a strong connectivity of industry with academia. He was a leading cross-functional roles needing high collaboration, adept in new product development and continuous product engineering. Currently focusing energies on enabling digital transformation for local needs. Shri Murthy holds a bachelor's degree in Electronics and Communication Engineering from MCE Hassan in the year 1995 and master's degree in Digital Electronics and Communication from NITK Surathkal in the year 1998. Shri Murthy is an accomplished professional with a diverse and impressive background spanning entrepreneurship, technology strategy, and engineering. With a noteworthy track record of achievements, he has played a significant role in the successful development of the agri-tech product Vikas Bandhu. Shri Murthy held the position of Customer Software Manager at Broadcom India Limited, where he demonstrated exceptional capabilities in software development and management. He is served as a program manager at NetApp India Private Limited, showcasing his expertise in program management and cross-functional collaboration. He worked as a senior engineering manager at Motorola India Private Limited and contributed to various embedded product lines and exhibited leadership skills in development, integration, and testing. Shri Sadananda Murthy's career is characterized by a consistent drive for innovation and a proven track record of boosting revenue growth through his contribution to software development, program management, and quality assurance. Once again, on behalf of ATMEC, I extend a heartfelt welcome to Shri Gundlupete Sadananda Murthy and express our sincere gratitude for gracing us with his presence. I welcome you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Now I welcome Shri Shiv Shankar Sir, Honorable Secretary, TME College of Engineering, to this inaugural function. We welcome you, sir. Now it's time to express our sincere appreciation to our esteemed guest. I request dignitaries on the dais to felicitate Mr. G. Sadanandamurthy, Founder Director, Sampark Bindu Solutions. Thank you, sir, for accepting my felicitation. Now I request Mr. G. Sadanand Murthy, Founder Director, Sampark Bindu Solution, to address the gathering.
Adjustment of the height. Very good morning to all of you. Okay. It's my privilege here to be amongst all of you and in presence of the management staff as well as the students, the faculty, and all present here. So before I start, just I will probably spend 5 minutes, a brief introduction about myself and why I think the events like this is very important in the current era that we are in. Okay, so before I start, I come from a place called Gundlupet that has already been spoken about. Gundlupet is pretty close by to Mysore, and my studies was also through Mysore University. So anything associated with Mysore has a special feeling in my heart, right? And that way, it was very nice that I could come here today. I did my engineering in electronics and communication, did my MTech in Surathkal. Then I have been a technical person for almost 25 years. When I say technical person, what I mean by is I've been working in product 500 companies like Motorola, NetApp, and Broadcom, which was spoken about. And I've been dealing with domains ranging from 3G to 5G, all the way till enterprise software, you name it, I've been dealing with all of that. But what I see here is that as we sort of embark on the next 5 years, I see a very, very disruptive change coming in. And that is why I feel that it is important that we, look towards that change and prep up ourselves for it, right? And the reason I sort of talk about all of that is, all of us know the digital revolution, right? We talk about, Industry 4.0, which I will be speaking about in some time. But it is very, very important that as an ecosystem, I see 4 pillars to the ecosystem. One is the industry as the last part. The second is the management. The third is the faculty. And the fourth are the students, right? All of the 4 have to come together and take it forward if we want to ensure that a disruption can be well accepted. The example that I give is, I was just talking, is that probably 40, 50 years back, we were looking at a typewriter. The typewriter would take care of all the black and white needs that we wanted. But then once the computer came in, the typewriter went away. It's just an example like that. Once the computer came in, the digital revolution has brought in a variety of changes. So that way, what I'm telling now is that the digital revolution is coming to a close. We are at that verge where the digital revolution is coming to a close, and it becomes very, very important for us to look forward into what is it that we can improve upon. And it is in that context that I will be speaking further today. But just to give a context, if you look at the things that are there in the future, we are looking at quantum computing, we are looking at cybersecurity, we are looking at IoT, we are looking at these kind of areas that will sort of drive our future forward, and unless we brace ourselves for it, right? Whatever you study here is part of the curriculum. There's nothing that you can change. But what is it that you can do to equip yourselves better? It's not only for students. It is for faculty, it is for the management, it is for the industry itself. The industry itself is feeling the pinch right now. So that way, if we are able to take things forward, only then can we really be sure that yes, we can shine forward. Because just to give you a context, how many of you know that the Department of Science and Technology has set up something like a 50,000 crore grant available for quantum computing? It's called as the Indian Quantum Mission. It is available, and it is available to colleges. It is available to students independently. it is available to us as entrepreneurs. All of it is available. There is something called as an AI mission, which we have to apply for, all of us put together. And that way we keep ourselves, we get the necessary support as the fifth pillar from the government. Right? So that way, if we are able to take all of this together, then only do we say that, yes, we are ready for the future. Because the disruption that will happen in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years, is something that we cannot fathom. Whatever we are studying, you talk it as, oh, I am an excellent coder. A point will come when there is no code required. I am an excellent design person. I can actually end up doing everything myself. Fine, AI can take over design. Then you might go end up saying that, no, I'm actually an excellent project professional. I can coordinate things together. I can actually, ensure that all the way from a minutes of a meeting, all the way to having Gantt charts, having everything together is my specialty. Obviously, there is specialty there. I'm not denying that. But all of that can be replaced as well. So if you look at the scheme of things of how the future is coming up, the traditional job definitions we have today will change. It will change, and it is already changing. You take an example of ChatGPT, now people are scared. People say that, oh my God, is my job under threat? Definitely it is under threat. So how can we ensure that at the end, we are actually competitive? How do we ensure that we add value? Is by actually sitting on the top of these systems. You can sit on the top of these systems only if you know it. Right? So that way, my only summary point would be that first, let us be aware that certain things are happening. Then comes the point of how do we really ensure that we embark or we bridge the gap. Third is, as part of the curriculum in college or as part of the work that we do, can we really end up using that either through projects or otherwise. And the fourth is ensuring that we end up doing research in areas that are critical. The areas that are critical today as a disruption is what I just spoke about. It could be quantum computing, it could be AI, it could be cybersecurity, you have IoT, you have a lot of them. But if you would look at embarking on research on all of this, it is open to faculty, it is open to everybody today. And the government is supporting it as well. So that way, as an overall ecosystem, if we brace ourselves for it, I think at the end of the day, we as a nation, we as individuals, we as a college, we as entrepreneurs, all of us will be able to make use of the technology to our advantage and ensure that at the end, we are collectively as a country as well. We look at India, we look at Bharat. Yes, we are a pioneer in all of these systems. That is what we should be aiming for. And as part of this whole, technology day, the event that you people are organizing, I thought it was apparent because when we look at all elements from entrepreneurship to research to your curriculum, all of this becomes important for us to focus on. And in the next 5 years when things change, if we are braced up to it, we survive. If we are not braced up to it, it's not that we succumb, we'll have to catch up, right? And then the catch up is again a loss of time. So that way it is important that we really, focus our areas on all of this. And since I come from the industry and since I come from entrepreneurship, I wanted to ensure that whether it be entrepreneurship, whether it be research, whether it be work, we spend efforts on this. The last point I would just want to add here is that your whole concept of work will change. When I grew up, when I just completed my engineering, I said that, okay, if I get a job somewhere, I'm happy, right? But when I did my MTech, I said I should get it in a good software company. But then those jobs will also not exist. So a lot of importance will now come into as we head into the next 5 years as entrepreneurship. A lot of students will have to look at entrepreneurship as an option And there are various options by the government, which I'm not trying to be a government advocate here, but all I'm just trying to tell you is that there is a lot of opportunities for people who are interested. Whether it could be faculty, it could be students who want to take up entrepreneurship. There is plenty of opportunity. I, as an entrepreneur, I have worked for 25 years in corporate, and after that, it's 3 years in entrepreneurship right now. And I have been able to get in this minimum time up to almost 30 lakhs of grants for my company, and with almost 50 lakhs further pending. So that way, if as a college and as an ecosystem, if you people look at it and look at grants for the entire ecosystem benefit, plenty of opportunities exist. So don't keep your mind, focused that job is my only way out. Look at entrepreneurship, look at research, pure sciences will come back. Today we were looking at computer science, we were looking at electronics, we were looking at civil. Now the whole world changes. It's going to be a combination of these subjects that will go forward. It's no more going to be, I look at electronics separate, I look at computer science separate, you look at this separate, everything will change right now. AI, unfortunately, is being touted as a computer science subject, which is wrong. AI sits on the top of every domain. And that way, if you look at the scheme of things, I see that if we are able to look at a broader horizon of engineering that are UG and PG as the foundation for us to become better human beings, I'm not looking at a job. If you get a job, great, as research. But if you are able to study for further, that is great as well. But the third option you people should look at is entrepreneurship, or you can look at, looking at trying to use these technologies as a consultant going forward. So that is the broad concept which I wanted to really touch upon and tell that in a forum like this, think a little broadly. It can be faculty, it can be students, it can be the management. Look at what is it that we can do to solve our own problems, and how is it that I can use the latest technology trends to do it, is the whole mantra with which I started my company, and I believe that's the same that happens here as well. So with that, as a keynote, the way I would like to end it is that I just want to have students specifically look at two elements additional than just a job. Can I get to research? Options are there. Research meaning not taking the SAT exam and getting to the US. But there are opportunities in India itself that you can do. You can actually end up doing entrepreneurship in a college itself through programs called EIR, Entrepreneurship in Residence. Avenues like that exist. So that way, if we really spend our time and look at opportunities like BITS Bilani, for example, allows students, if you must have seen that in the papers, BITS Bilani allows students to take a break from their MTech degree or their PhD to pursue entrepreneurship for some time and then come back to their course. So that way, a lot of the systems are changing today, and if we are able to adapt to it and we become the masters of ourselves with technology as our forte, I think there is a lot we can do better. With the college providing the foundation, what more we can do is what we should look at. And in this context, I think I will just stop here and then give, the program to continue. But this was what I wanted to actually stress upon as the keynote on how things are. I have a small presentation that I have as a concept on the technical side, but as a keynote, I wanted to stress that please don't just look at Infosys, please don't look at Google, don't look at that. Try to look at other avenues that are there. Try to see how, as faculty, you can involve yourself through these grants with industry to get projects done in the colleges itself, and look at all of this put together so that at the end of the day, the student is coming out of your institutes is fully molded. So with this, I think I'll stop my keynote address. I hope I was able to stress the need for entrepreneurship, and I look forward to, the bright minds taking up to the next levels, as the time proceeds. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for that enlightening talk packed with valuable insights. We are looking forward to hear more from you. Now I request Mrs. Jyoti DN, Assistant Professor, Department of Civil Engineering, to introduce our guest of honor, Dr. Syed Shakib Ur Rahman, former Executive Council member, VTU Belagavi, and GC member, ATMA College of Engineering.
Morning, one and all, present here for Icrtst 2023. I am glad to introduce my beloved teacher and today's guest of honor, Professor Syed Shakibur Rahman sir, former Dean VTU, former Principal, Sri Jayachamrajendra College of Engineering, Mysuru. Sir pursued BE in Civil Engineering from University of Mysore, ME and PhD in Structural Engineering from IIT Madras. He started his career in 1973 as a lecturer and given 50 years of contribution to the educational field with various positions like assistant professor, associate professor, professor and head, dean academics, vice principal, principal, and honorary professor at SJCE Mysuru. Sir also member of many scientific and professional societies like Institution of Engineers, India, American Concrete Institute, Framingham Hills, Detroit, USA, American Society of Civil Engineers, USA, Association of Consulting Civil Engineers, India, Executive Committee members, Institution of Engineers, India, Life member of Indian Society for Technical Education, New Delhi. Sir also held various key positions at VTU Belagavi. To list a few, is a member of Executive Council in the year 2004 to 2022 and Dean Faculty of Engineering 2007 to 2010 and Academic Senate for the 2 terms from 2007 to 2013 and member of Estate Board, member of Committee for the Establishment of VTU Institute of Advanced Technologies at Muddenahalli and the like. And also, sir, as chairman for Financial Assistance Committee, Review Committee for Local Inquiry Recommendations at VTU Belagavi. Sir is a member of Panel of Experts, AICTE New Delhi, and also he has served in various prestigious universities of India in various positions, to list a few. So is the member of Board of Studies in Civil Engineering, NITK Surathkal, Board of Studies in Civil Engineering, Kuempu University, Shumoga, Board of Studies in Civil Engineering, University Vishwesvaraya College of Engineering, Bengaluru, and member of Karnataka Science and Technology Academy, Bengaluru, member of Governing Council of various colleges, includes our college, ATME College of Engineering, MSRIT Bengaluru, KNS College of Engineering Bengaluru, PDA College of Engineering Gulbarga, Global Academy Bengaluru, Cambridge Institute of Technology Bengaluru, and also member secretary and governing council SJCE Mysuru. The list goes on. Thank you, sir, for your contribution of 50 plus years in educational field and accepting our invitation and gracing this event. Thank you, sir. Welcome to ICIT.
Thank you, ma'am. Now I request Dr. Syed Shakibur Rahman sir, former Executive Council member VTU and GC member ATME College of Engineering, to address the gathering.
A very good morning to all of you. One thing I want to assure you, my speech is going to be shorter than the introduction I had. I will not take more than 2 to 3 minutes because you are all waiting to listen to our main key speaker. So, the chairman, Dr. L. Arun Kumar, chief guest of this morning function, Sri G. Sadanand Murthy, Sri K. Shivshankar, Dr. A. K. Murthy, Dr. Baswaraj, Dr. Bhagyashri, Dr. Manu Vijay, and the others on the dais, respected faculty members, and we have, Dr. Praveen here with us, and dear students and the participants. I'm very happy to be here for this program. ATME is only 13 years old, and this is the fourth international conference they are conducting, in the last 4 successive years. So I would like to congratulate the faculty members of the various departments of both science and engineering for their joint effort in organizing this international conference on recent trends in science and technology, as I said, for the fourth successive time. ATME, I think, is quite popular for doing things differently. I have seen, attended, conferences like recent trends in civil engineering, conferences like recent trends in concrete technology, etc., etc. But a conference being organized on such a vast subject of science and technology is really a great thing. And I'm sure, because this is being, organized by all the departments, science and technology put together, it's a great teamwork and lot of effort that would have gone in, organizing this conference. So, dear organizers, you have coined the term science and technology together, which is very apt. Science is about how the universe works, and on the other hand, technology puts science into action to achieve favorable results to humanity. The main reason for our lives to have become so easy and convenient are the joint contribution of science and technology together. One word of caution here, that we should understand that technology will benefit our lives if used properly. However, if mishandled, it can become a great danger. Technology has completely changed our lives, and therefore we should ensure that they are used for the betterment of society. My dear friends, you're all here, for today and tomorrow. You're going to have some important sessions. I am sure, once you complete this conference tomorrow, you will be benefited, with a lot of new things. You would have increased your knowledge in this area of science and technology, and I wish this conference a great success. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now it's time to release conference e-proceedings. I thank Mr. Srivatsa and Mr. Karthik in preparing this conference proceedings. Now I request Shri L. Arun Kumar Sir, Honorable Chairman, ATME College of Engineering, to deliver presidential address.
ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. Sadanandamurthy, today's function chief guest. Dr. Shakibur Rahman, guest of honor, office bearer of ATME Trust. Principal Dr. A.K. Murthy, dean and heads of various departments, dear faculty members, delegates, scholars and students. It's a great honor and privilege to address you on the occasion of the 4th International Conference on Recent Trends in Science and Technology 2023. This conference has become a remarkable event, bringing together the brightest minds and visionaries, providing a platform to collaborate. This conference creates an environment where researchers from various backgrounds can connect, share their ideas, and work together on innovative projects. Science and technology have the power to transform the society, bridge the gaps, and solve complex global challenges. As an institute that is committed to fostering academic excellence and technological advancement, we at the ATME College of Engineering are proud to be at the forefront of this movement. ATMEC is promoting research in emerging and challenging areas of science and technology. We have not only established research center in different branches of engineering, but also put in place a robust research incentive policy to encourage the students and faculty to undertake research in these emerging areas. Under this policy, we have established various measures like incentives for paper publication, support to participate in conference by way of registration, TADA, etc., facilitating participation in faculty development programs, and sharing revenue from consultancy projects. This enhances the general research capability of budding technocrats by way of participating in conferences, seminar, workshop, thereby creating an awareness and opportunity in R&D among the faculty members and the students. Today's international conference theme, Recent Trends in Science and Technology, captures the dynamic nature of constantly changing world. It reflects the rapid pace of change and innovation, the emergence of new ideas and methodologies, and profound impact they have on our lives. Our conference is a platform for exchange of these ideas and forging new partnership in the space where new discoveries can be made. I would like to extend my heartiest gratitude to the renowned researchers who have graced us with their presence as a keynote speaker. Sir, your knowledge and insight are invaluable, and we eagerly anticipate the wisdom you are going to share with us during this conference. I take this opportunity to appreciate the tireless efforts of our faculty members, students, and the organizing committee for their dedication in making this event a reality. It is their hard work and commitment that ensures success of this conference year after year. I would like to thank all of you for being a part of this remarkable event. The future is promising, and it is shaped by individuals like you, who strive to push the boundaries of knowledge and make meaningful impact on the world. Let's make this 4th International Conference on Research Trends in Science and Technology a resounding success. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now I call upon Professor Manu Vijay, Head of Department Civil Engineering and Organizing Chair, to render vote of thanks.
Good morning. We are happy to host 4th International Conference on Recent Trends in Science and Technology, Icrtst 23. This conference is a unique opportunity for engineers from all disciplines to come together and learn from each other. We will be covering a wide range of topics, including artificial intelligence, machine learning, robotics, AI, renewable energy, and more. In addition to our technical sessions, we also have networking events and social activities. These are great opportunities to meet new people and collaborate on future projects. I encourage you to take the advantage of everything that this conference has to offer. Ask questions, share your ideas, and network with our engineers. You never know what new and exciting existing possibilities you may discover. My sincere thanks to Sri G. Sadanandamurthy sir, founding chairman, Samparka Bindu, for accepting our invitation and being our esteemed orator. Thank you, sir. I request our honorable chairman, sir, to present a memento for the keynote, for the chief guest. I thank Dr. Suryavamshi Arvind K, General Manager, Technical Manager, Heidelberg Groups, RMC Concrete, who have joined online. Thank you, sir. I heartily thank our guest of honor, Dr. Shakibur Rahman, sir, for gracing this conference. I request our honorable chairman, sir, to hand over the memento, sir. My sincere thanks to Chairman Sri L. Arun Kumar sir for the support given to organize this two-day international conference. Thank you, sir. I also thank Secretary Sri K. Shivshankar sir for being with us. I also thank members of AT Meters Sri Viresh and Sri Venkatesh sir in their absence here. I extend my sincere thanks to IQAC Director Dr. L. Basaraj sir. I thank Organizing Chair, Dean Research, Dr. Bhageshi SR for their continuous support. Thank you, ma'am. I also extend my thanks to Dean Academic, Dr. M.S. Govindagowda sir, to Dean Student Affairs, Dr. Yatish Well. I also thank various heads of the department, teaching fraternity for their support. I thank all the various committee members, faculties and staff, and also participant researchers, delegates from different institutions, and press and media. I wish you all very happy stay at ATMEC and have a valuable takeaways. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Our upcoming events at ATMA College of Engineering are, so we have one-day zonal level workshop on nuclear energy developments for societal benefit on 26th October. On 2nd, 3rd and 4th of November, we'll be having AACT sponsored FDP on UHV. On 6th, 7th, 8th, 3-day national level symposium on application of image processing technique in the field of electronics and civil engineering sponsored by SERB and DST. Now we'll move on to keynote address. So we'll listen to keynote address. Thank you, dignitaries on the dais. I request them to please be seated in the front row. First keynote session is from Mr. G. Sadanandamurthy, Founder Director, Sampark Bindu Solutions. We also have Dr. Suryavamshi Arvind K, General Manager, Technical, Heidelberg Group, RMX Concrete Operations, Singapore, who have joined us virtually, who will be delivering keynote session 2.
Good morning again. So the conference is, aptly indicated as the recent trends. But what I actually want to do is to go a little into the future, right? And try to provide a bird's eye view of how things will be, and just give a perspective on how things can change, right? From a technical standpoint. So if you look at things here, what I've tried to do is just go back one slide in terms of our mindset of how the industrial revolution has taken place, right? And if I look at a time span of 250 years, it has been said that it has been 5 revolutions that have happened at an industry level, right? And to give a perspective there, In the early 1800s, it was actually called as Industry 1.0. All what it did is it allowed the mechanization to start. Everything was manual before, and you went to the first step where you could mechanize things, and using water power and steam power, it was possible to make inroads. Was the first industrial revolution. That in itself was a great achievement. In the entrepreneur world, they say a concept of 0 to 1 and then 1 to 10. So this was actually the foundation for us to actually start moving forward. The invention of wheels was also during this period itself or even before. Now, Industry 2.0, just to take it forward, was driven by a concept called electricity. Because of electricity coming into play, it became possible to have factories that could run 24 hours, which was not possible earlier. You could have the basic things working all the time, and that made possible the concept of mass production, the concept of factories, everything was all factory driven at that point in time, right? So that was the second revolution. The third was where 50 years later, computers came in. Until then, everything was analog, right? And then the concept of a digital revolution, the foundation started coming in the third revolution, where we started looking at easy way of data, easy way of access of data, the computer being the center of everything. All of that started in the third revolution. And that's where things slowly started coming in. Fourth generation or the fourth industry revolution is where we are today. We are looking at the digital revolution where automation is the key to everything. I'm trying to look at how jobs can be taken over by machines, to put it very bluntly, right? How things can be made easy, how things can be done, how the whole thing changes is where the automation is going in. And if you look at all the new technologies coming in with the automation in place, we are at that era right now, which we call the digital revolution. One thing that I would just like to add and tell here is, just not to frighten you people, but just to let you people know, is that we are probably at the cusp, at this point in time, heading into the fifth generation of the industry, which we call as Industry 5.0. And what we have to be realistic of that is the moment we go to Industry 5.0, what we are looking into the future is very different. And with that in place, why I tell it is important is that if you look at the time spans here, for the first two industry revolutions, it took 100 years each, almost. The second jump, the third jump took 50 years. The fourth jump, we do not know. It could be as small as 10 years. By the time you people complete your engineering, or some of you do your research, some of you do something else, the generation could have changed where, coming back to an old example of I said as a typewriter, a computer can become worthless. A possibility can happen that our digital revolution itself is coming to an end to be replaced by something more powerful, more different, right? And augmented as well. So it is with this concept that I start, the talk today, where my focus will be just to give a perspective of how things have been in the digital revolution, which is the recent trends that you people are talking about, and also a bird's eye view of how the future will be with one example of quantum computing. So when we look at Industry 4.0, which I spoke about as the digital revolution, right? If you look at the advancements that happened and why it happened, we were looking at the analog world earlier. And why did the analog world not succeed? It was basically because of the concept where I could not, there was a concept of noise. It was always not possible to recover our data well. So analog had its problems, because of which digital came in. Digital was very easy. I had it as 0 or 1. Even if it was in between, if it was 60% at something, you could always call it as 1, but the other one would be 0. So that way, trying to recover data, trying to be accurate with your data became easy, and that is how the digital revolution started. And with that, what happened was there were 4 key drivers. The first driver was computing. Over the last 50 years, computing has become so easy, so affordable, that more in less. I will be talking about Moore's law just in our next slide, but I'm just trying to tell you that things became much easier, much available to the people. The next is looking at networking. I don't know how many of you people have heard, because a lot of old timers like us definitely know, there was a concept called dial-up modems, right? And we were looking at speed of 9.6 kbps. Forget even the mbps or the gbps you talk today. That was the speed with which we would dial up our modem and look at our emails, right? So that was how things were. So now how things have changed, it has changed drastically. Networking, forget your normal networking. Wireless goes into gigabits right now, right? So that way things are changing there as well. And similarly on the wireless communication, you look at Wi-Fi, you look at your 5G, things are changing there as well. So it's being possible for us to transmit data like crazy to meet up with the computing power to take it through. The last is storage, okay? All the way from our magnetic memory to the point of having USB drives worth terabytes, to the point of having cloud computing which you can access at the blink of an eye, things are changing there as well. So effectively all put together, it had an exponential effect. And that is what drove the fourth generation of our industrial revolution and shortened it from the traditional 100 years that you saw to 50 years or even 40 years. And that is what is going to be shorter as we go along as well. I'm not going to go too deep into this slide. I'm just trying to give a bird's eye view that a computer is not new. We had analog computers in 1940s as well, just to give context. But the definition of a computer was different then. It was the war time. You had to decode messages, you had to do some calculations, you had to decipher war messages. That was the concept of a computer then, and that was served in computers that were generated then. And even though it looks small, if you people have looked at certain old movies, you will see that that occupied almost a certain room, a complete room itself. Then over time, we got into basic computers, no operating systems. Then we further went into personal computers with operating systems. The Apples, the Windows all came in. And then later, as we started going along, we made it further where we could actually have the concept of networking coming into play, where computers could talk to each other, move forward. And then at the end of the day, when we look at the 2010s, laptops became prevalent with everybody. And those laptops could connect through Wi-Fi. You didn't need cables. Things became easier. And now we have gone a full 360 degrees where all you need is a client, is what we use in the terminology. Whether you have a laptop, whether you use something else, all what you are doing is going back to the old exterm days where you are connecting to the cloud, and what you have is a simple device which is just capable of talking to a server in the cloud. So that is the full circle that we have gone with right now, and this is where things change, because now at this stage, people are talking of no code, people are talking of just clients, because everything is happening on the cloud in a very different manner. Here, this is just a concept. This is self-explanatory. I'm not going to talk about it. But one thing that I would tell here is that as we get to 5G, where there's a lot of talk, I saw some of the papers on 5G as well. It's a good thing, but it comes with its own small hindrances as well. That 5G has health hazards. And that is something that will hit us at some point of time, because when we look at G, it is just a concept of a spectrum that we use. 5G is using a huge spectrum, and because we are using a huge spectrum with a lot of power, it means that there are potential health hazards which are being looked at. And now will 5G turn to 6G is where the concept comes in. And the 6G adoption might be much slower because of the health concerns that might come in. Just as a food for thought. I'm not trying to say that we should not, but this is a possibility that could happen. Next. A lot of you know Moore's law. I'm not going to talk about Moore's law, right? So all Moore's law say is, all that Moore's law say is that every 2 years, the size of the number of transistors you can have in a chip will double. That's all what Moore's law say. And what has it resulted in is that we are actually reducing our footprint by half every year. It started with every 2 years, it became every year. And when I say reducing our footprint, I'm referring to the silicon wafer that we use, right? So we look at 60 nanometers, we look at 5 nanometers, but at a point in time, we are hitting that limit. is all I'm getting to. We have now reached 2 nanometers as the silicon wafer, and there are chances that it can go to 1 nanometer, probably 0.5 as well. But the rate at which we are expanding is now saturating. And because of that, there is a limit we can hit is what people are worried about, which is also forcing us to think of how we can do things differently. One slide, Tyre. Back. So this is self-explanatory. This is just a bird's eye view, right? None of you have seen a magnetic core memory. I have not seen it myself. Okay, but this was what was used for storage earlier, just as awareness. And as we started going along, I'm sure a lot of you would have seen a floppy drive, a 1.4 MB floppy drive that we used as the means for storage, and then subsequently looking into compact disk, which our generation was familiar with, right? But today, does anybody use a compact disk? It's all gone. And I'm telling you people, in the next 2 years, your USB drives will become redundant. 2 years will become redundant because everything will be stored in the cloud. That's already happening today. If you have a Geo set-top box, it has Geo Drive. If you have something else, Google, it has Google Drive. You have Microsoft, they have OneDrive. So everything eventually will go there is how things are shaping up, and things are changing towards cloud computing. Okay, next. So overall, what did digitization help us with, right? If you want to just look at it, it helped us in 4 things. One is because of the supply and demand, it made it affordable. It was only, the technology was available only to the rich, or the people using the technology were the people who had access to it. So it became affordable, point 1. Point 2, it became accessible. How many of you today access your news on your mobile? See a movie on your mobile. You have Netflix, you have Prime Video, you have apps running on your mobile. The same app on a laptop, the same app on a computer. Now, what is happening is the computer is now becoming second. Mobile is becoming your ubiquitous device, right? Everything is on your mobile today, right? Things are changing, right? So that way, your accessibility to using the technology on multiple devices is what is coming in. And what became very different is the concept of open source. Linux was the first example where they said everything should be free. So today you have GitHub, you have Kaggle, you name it. There's a lot of free options available today that are enabling things to be made affordable again, right? And with open source coming into play, a lot of your licensing that was a problem earlier is being made available unless you don't change it, right? Last is, there is a concept called OPEX and CAPEX. CAPEX is capital expenditure, which means that you invest for it. OPEX means operationally driven, which means that the cost is less, over time you pay for it. Things are moving in that direction because when we start moving to cloud, you don't own anything anymore. Everything is owned by somebody, maintained by somebody. All you are doing is using it. So that is what is happening. And because of all these things coming into play right now, the role of the digital era has sprung so fast that in the 40 years, we have achieved so much that we are actually worried that the next generation gap, the gap from 4 to 5, will be only 15 years at max. And that 15 years, by the time you realize what's happened, we could feel outdated. Just as awareness, it's not to feel frightened about it. It's more about how things can change as we peek into the future. Next slide. Here, when I talk about today and the future, I've just looked at, it as a foundation, as a pillar like this, as a building diagram. We have cloud infrastructure that has come in. Because of cloud infrastructure that has come in, you have big data as an enabling piece forward, which is using that cloud infrastructure to provide a lot of analytics. Because of analytics coming into play, how can I use analytics for the purpose of AI is what is automatically happening. And because of AI coming in, okay, there are limitations which I will speak about at the end. And then eventually we get to the point of why technologies like quantum computing is possibly required. I will not go into the details, but it's just a bird's eye view of it. Okay. This people know. I'm not going to just talk about this and that, but just the 2 or 3 points I would like to bring here is how many of you don't access your Gmail today? Everybody has Gmail, everybody accesses their emails for sure. Do you people even wonder where your email resides? It's on a server somewhere, but it's ubiquitous, it's transparent to you, right? All of that is because of cloud computing. And some of the technologies that have helped in cloud computing is a concept called where I don't own anything. Okay, initially what used to happen in the enterprise world where a college like this would have its own servers, would have its own IT team, would have its own servers for applications, its own server for email, its own server for something else. All of them were not optimal. So using concepts of virtualization, just as a word that I speak about, hyper virtualization and things like that, it became possible for us to use the same computer by 10 people instead of one, 10 users instead of one, without compromising on the capability, without compromising on the performance. It became possible for us to optimize and access everything through a concept called pay as you go. A lot of people here may be aware of concepts called microservices. Okay, just to give a context on a microservice, if you want to run a small program that runs only for 1 second, do you know that you can actually have that compute function running on cloud and you pay only for that 1 second? You don't need to own the infrastructure at all. So you want to do some analysis, it takes 1 second. All you do is you run that infrastructure for storage, for compute for that, you are billed only for that 1 second. And that is where cloud is becoming very, very, very prevalent. Lot of things are given for free. Do you people know for students, for faculty, for entrepreneurs, cloud access is discounted. For students, it is free. For me as an entrepreneur, for the application that I run, which is pretty complex, do you know what is my monthly bill? I run AWS, on AWS. My monthly bill is only 2,500 rupees per month. Just as an example, I'm trying to tell you that is the kind of benefit and services that you go with pay as you go and the OpEx driven infrastructure through cloud, right? So that's just a summary of how things can become cost effective. At the same time, you do not compromise on security. You do not compromise on compute. You do not compromise on access. Everything maintained. Your device is just an access device to access the cloud. Big data. Big data, is a natural byproduct of cloud. Because with cloud, what happened was people are a little scared. Okay, if it's my own server, it's fine, but it's cloud. So I need logs. So cloud provider provides you logs. Then I want to know my usage report because I'm paying money for it right now. So the cloud provider provides you usage as well. He says, and then he also tells, I will give you the profile details of the people using it. So with all this information available, what happens is that the analysis becomes a lot more easier because you have access to all probable data points that you need, whether it is issues, whether it is usage, whether it is profile, logs are available. And in addition to that, for information, government has also moved to a cloud infrastructure and they are also making their cloud data available. So for people looking at public infrastructure, that is also there. So with all of this put together, what is happening is statistics and probability is gaining the forefront back again. 10 years back, it was a theoretical subject. Today, because of the analysis you can do and applying of these concepts of statistics there, it becomes easier to actually analyze this data. But the only problem with that is that we are actually looking at large pools of data. Because it is large pools of data, you need technology specific to big data called Hadoop, you have Spark, you have other things there. And as long as you have all of that, it becomes easy for us to move forward and ensure that we are able to crunch the data and take it through. Next slide. How many of you look at AI? AI, when you look at it from a machine learning perspective, what kind of intelligence do we sort of look at? We look at emotional intelligence, we look at social intelligence, we look at intelligence in its general sense. So it's not about just being able to compute. If you want to really replace AI comparison to humans, what we are looking at is replacing in all these fronts. And when we say that an AI system is like a human or a superhuman, it means the machine should be able to react and feel. The machine should be able to think, it should be able to act, it should be able to speak. Then it should be able to take decisions. This is what we do today from our experience. And if a machine can do all of this together as a single device, that's when it's called as super intelligent, right? But today we are not there. But if you look at it from an AI perspective, what typically happens? When you look at the building blocks, I spoke about cloud. I spoke about the big data analytics. Analytics was done plenty. That analytics is what is used, that data is what is used to a concept called modeling, which you people definitely must be aware of, where I try to model the data and try to sort of use that modeled data to generate certain glorified lookup tables, if you look at it. And since you are able to have glorified lookup tables, when you pass new data, it knows where to pick it up and then gives a decision saying that this is what it is. A best example for this is, I have 1,000 images of cats and dogs. I feed 1,000 images of cats and dogs. People analyze it. It's a whisker, it's a tail, it's a body, it's that and this. And what do they say? They are able to determine that if these parameters are there, it's a dog. If these parameters are there, it's a cat. And if that is done by humans, let's assume for now, as the analysis. And then when I pass a new image, all what it does, it looks at those data points only. Yes, 2, 3, 4. Yes, it's there, it's a dog. The answer might be wrong, but that is how it is trained. And because it is trained that way, it continuously gets trained to be better, and it looks at identifying a proper image. So that's how I've just taken an example of how AI works. But today, in its all context, AI is sort of, not, it's narrow focused AI, if you may so call it, but still pretty powerful. Next slide. I spoke about machine learning, okay? I spoke about that, say, where, algorithms will be used to determine that, but what happens is people do the modeling. People do all of that together. Now let's take the example in a different way. I have a system. I have 10,000 images instead of 1,000 images. I have 1 lakh images of cats and dogs. I pass it to a system, okay? The system has the intelligence to automatically define that this image is different from that. It doesn't know what a cat is. It doesn't know what a dog is. It doesn't know anything related to a cat and dog, but it's able to differentiate by itself. The modeling happens by the system automatically. Okay, all it will say is after that is done, when you pass an image, it says this is image A, this is image B. It doesn't even know cat and dog. It just says that this is image A, this is image B. I've just taken 2 examples. It could be 10, it could be 15, but that is how a system works. And that is where deep learning comes into play. Deep learning is all about the modeling done by the system itself. You have neural networks, you have spoken about ChatGPT, you have spoken about language models, all of that is known, so I won't speak about it. But that whole concept of self-learning is what they call it, is what is achieved in these kind of deep learning technologies. Okay. So with that said, what happens is AI, which was very narrow earlier, meaning that I could use it only for deciphering AI messages or war messages, went slowly to the point where I have a car that can drive by itself. But a car that can drive by itself cannot do something else. I have a robot that can walk. You push it, you have seen enough of videos of it, right? It can stabilize itself, walk again. Or you have robots that can work in kitchens, but that's all is what they can do. Still narrow, but they're completely independent. But what is happening is, when we look at the scheme of things, of how things move forward, we feel that we are getting to an end point because of which things have to change, which I will talk about next slide. So here, when we look at AI, we are looking at a positive tipping point. When I say a tipping point, it means that we are again going ahead of the curve. We are able to progress further. The multimodal capabilities that I spoke about, which means it can be EQ, social coefficient, intelligent coefficient, all of that is improving. Human-like possibilities are slowly coming in, but unfortunately, if you look at the digital revolution today, we are hitting that negative tip as well. And for information, when I say negative tip, what do I mean by that is that you look at Moore's law, okay? You look at the concept of 5G, you look at all of the elements that I put together, we are getting to a point where we feel that we are getting limited. And why we feel limited, I will talk about in the next slide. But what I have to say is AI is a foundation. With AI, other technologies will come into play, and collectively as a combination, that is what will propel us into 5.0. How many of you have worked or have, researched a little on quantum computing? Anybody here? Or is it a new subject completely? So quantum computing as a concept is new, but it is derived from quantum mechanics. So quantum mechanics is not new. It has been there from the 18th century as a theoretical subject. Okay. So I will dwell into that, but what is more important is, why is new technologies becoming necessary is what I'm trying to say. And if you look at this, we looked at lack of spectrum for 6G because we cannot keep taking spectrum all along. We have to hit a point there. So there is a limitation there. Processor chip density, Moore's law, we are hitting a limit there as well. So we have to look at different ways of computing. Our digital revolution will hit a limit sometime. Then your computing speeds, storage, everything is sort of hitting a point where you feel you have there, but in the next 5 years, it will sort of get there. So I'll take an example. If you have petabytes of data with medical equipment, right, medicine data, you're trying to detect cancer. The current digital revolution that you have is still not going to help you. A lot more can be done, but you are limited because of the processing power and because of where things stand. You want to decrypt a password. This is a little unethical, but I'm just telling you. Somebody has a password. It is stored with a 1024-bit encrypted key, let's assume. If you want to go through the entire tree structure in the digital world and decrypt it, assuming it takes 1 nanosecond per iteration, do you know how long it takes to decrypt the password? 20 years. Right? And for a valid reason, you have to do it, you are stuck. I'm just giving examples. So with all of this put into play, it became necessary to look at new possible technologies that will come in the anvil in the time to come. Next. Quantum computing is just one example I've taken. You have cybersecurity, you have IoT, there's a lot of technologies that are all coming together, but just to give a perspective on how things will be changing in the future, quantum computing is the next big thing from one angle in the scheme of things. Quantum computing is all based on the concept that was there in quantum mechanics or quantum physics. So people who know a little physics, all it says is light was considered purely a wave, which was then refuted to say that light is not only wave, it behaves as matter as well. And that experiment is what we look at as the two-slit experiment, okay? And when I say two-slit experiment, it's not just to say that. All it means is if it was particularly a wave, it should have been seen completely all through, but we actually saw a Gaussian curve out there, which meant to say that it was matter as well. Now, if you translate that into computing, what happens is, in the scheme of things, let's assume that I'm trying to toss a coin, right? Just as the example here. In the digital world, all you look at is you toss a coin and you look at it as heads or tails, right? That is the end point. You have only two states. But if I toss the coin and then say that I'm looking at, an intermittent state as it starts revolving around, you see infinite number of states, right? And those infinite number of states is what is called as superposition. And that superposition is what is used for intermittent computing probabilities as well. Because you are looking at computing in those superpositions, you are not dealing with just 0 and 1. You are dealing with 1000 qubits is what they say. So instead of 2, if you have 1000, that in itself is enabling you 500 times. right? And that I will just show as an example here. Here, all I'm trying to say is if you look at a typical tree structure, okay, where your computing is happening, if it is a 8-bit, if you're looking at this conventionally as an 8 level, you have to go 2 to the power of 8 and then come backwards. And that is the kind of approach that it happens. You have to traverse through the entire tree in the digital world. But in the compute world, what will happen is you are looking at it sequentially, which is very different, where you are not going to traverse through all of it. You will traverse it at 6 levels, and at the end of the day, you have your answer, which means that 2 to the power of 64, 2 to the power of 6, sorry, 2 to the power of 6 divided by 6 is the computation gain that you are getting in using quantum physics, quantum computing. And that is what is the benefit that we see coming through this technology. It is said that our brain operates in the quantum world. That is what it is said. And we should be able to achieve that superhuman intelligence with the help of quantum. So this said, the last slide that I have here is just to say that today it is at its infancy. Quantum computing is not at a case where things are actually improving and it's at a stage where things are big. But in the next 3 to 5 years, things will change. A quantum computer doesn't look like a common computer today. It is all full of wires, primarily because it has to operate at low temperatures. Outside of that, it is as good as no code. It is as good as nothing else. Everything is hardware centric here. So at the end of the day, all of what you talk about, I know software, I know Python, I know C, I know C++, I know that, I know architecture. Your fundamental definitions of architectures will change. Your fundamental definition of ecosystems will change. And then you will be dealing with machines like this, which probably you would have seen in Superman or something like that in a scheme of things. Things will change, because of which I'm trying to just caution that please spend some time on the future technologies that are there on the plate. Be aware. Only if you are aware can you be a master of it. And if you are a master, you can exercise it. With that said, I wish all of you all the best. And I thank Dr. Praveen for giving me an introduction here to meet the college and meet all of you. And that said, my thanks to the dignitaries and the people who came along with me. And with that, I hand it over back. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for that insightful presentation. We are truly grateful for sharing your valuable insights. Now we'll move on to keynote address 2, the final address. Before that, I call upon Mr. Pradeep Kumar Y, Assistant Professor, Department of Electronics and Communication Engineering, to introduce our speaker, Dr. Suryavanshi Aravind K, General Manager, Technical, Heidelberg Group, RMX Concrete Operations, Singapore, who has joined us virtually.
Our esteemed keynote speaker, Dr. Arvind K. Suryavanshi, General Manager, Technical, Heidelberg Group, Ready Mix Concrete Operation, Singapore, and Fellow of Institute of Concrete Technology, United Kingdom, for this August gathering. Dr. Arvind has been working since the past 43 years in the allied fields of concrete technology, covering quality assurance and quality control of ready mix concrete and precast concrete, testing and inspection of civil engineering materials, research and development, and teaching to undergraduates of Nanyang Technological University, Singapore, and international certificate programs. Sir had led numerous industry-sponsored R&D projects while working as postdoctoral fellow at the National University of Singapore, and also while working with late Professor R.L. Swamy at the University of Sheffield, England.
Fellow of Institute of Concrete Technology, England, and Council Member of ICT, United Kingdom. Sir was the Director and Head of the Education Committee of American Concrete Institute, Singapore chapter from 2007 to 2018. He has also served as a reviewer for international journals, international conference proceedings, and also as an external examiner for PhD and MSc thesis. He has published 26 papers in the international referred journals, conference proceedings, and ICT yearbook. He was also the Fellow of Commonwealth Commission, UK from 1991 to 1994. Since April 2017, Dr. Arvind is with Pernit Industry, a group of company of Indocement and Heidelberg Materials, Germany, as the general manager and heading the quality assurance and quality control team of its ready mix concrete operation. Prior to the above position, Dr. Arvind was with Lafarge Holcim Limited, Singapore from April 2012 to September 2016, where he was the director of the Center of Excellence. Ladies and gentlemen, I am delighted to inform you that our keynote speaker for today will be providing a profound insight into the cutting-edge realm of construction technology. Our distinguished speaker will be discussing the topic of 3D printing of buildings and building elements for the future, a review. Dear sir, thank you for gracing us with your presence.
So we basically how you build the buildings. Basically, if you want to build the buildings, what you do is either use a wall. For example, if I take a wall, how you construct a wall? We use basically bricks or stones. Or if you want to build a concrete wall, you basically put a formwork. You put a formwork, then you fill the concrete. This is our traditional method. So for building a wall of concrete, definitely you need a formwork. Your mold is required. Whereas in 3D printing, you don't need any formwork here. This is the advantage of 3D printing. It can be only used for building walls here. What it involves? The 3D printing basically involves is a basically computer controlled system. It is, you got a nozzle is there which is controlled by the computer, and the nozzle is attached to a gantry crane is there. So you're basically dropping the material layer by layer, layer by layer. The materials are highly specialized here. This is not a normal concrete here. It is highly specialized, specially designed material it is. Okay. So this is the very critical part of the 3D building. Your material, the material which you drop through your printer is a critical part of the 3D printing. And basically you are printing layer by layer here. Just like it looks like as if you have placed piled ropes, rope over the rope. Each layer thickness is around 5 to 10 millimeters only. So you're building layer by layer. The printer will start from one point. It will go put a layer there, and once again come back to the original point. It will put the second layer. So that's how we build the building. The example is given on the left hand side. You can see the wall there. The wall, it looks like almost like a piled ropes only. It's one over the layer. One layer is placed over the other layer, and layer thickness is around 5 millimeters. So what basically it involves? The process involves basically to design first. You have to design a 3D model using your CAD. Then you break the 3D model into layers. And second thing is printing. Before printing, you have to transfer all your files to your computer and position the computer. Then last one is after printing, you have to do normal curing because this is cement. Cement needs a curing. You have to do some finishing also. Then after curing, you go for painting. So next slide. So let me talk about the printers. What type of printers basically use? The printers are basically extrusion process. Extrusion means basically just resembles your toothpaste. You take your toothpaste, you press from backside, front side you get the paste. This is called as the extrusion process. Basically you are pushing the material from the backside, and front side you have got a die there. Die is there. Okay, the material comes out through the die. Basically oozes out the die. The second method is binder jetting. In the binder jetting, what you do is you put the layer of dry powder. For example, for concrete, it is cement layer. Put the dry layer of cement powder. Over that, you put your water. Water is a binder. Okay. Then you once again compress. Then once again put the second layer, third layer, fourth layer. Just so you keep on building the wall there. This is called as binder jetting. But for 3D printing, normally you don't use binder jetting. Most probably you go for extrusion process. Okay, you extrude your mix through a extruder. That's your printer. So next slide. So now let me talk about the type of manufacturing, how you produce the products. Different products are there, right? For example, whether it is a construction product, whether it is a mechanical product here. So first one is subtractive machining. Subtractive machining, if you are mechanical engineers, you do what is called as turning, milling, grinding. These are subtractive machining. Basically, you take out the material. In case of turning, you take a cylinder and you keep on turning it and reduce the diameter. The initial diameter was capital D, then you reduce it to diameter of smaller d. See, this is called as subtractive metallurgy. That means you are subtracting the metal from the existing bar stock. The second method is additive manufacturing. In case of additive manufacturing, you're placing one layer over the above layer, one layer above the above layer. So 3D printing is basically additive manufacturing here. You are nothing initially starting, nothing is there. You are building up layer by layer, layer by layer. Similarly, you cast the columns also. When you cast your columns in a building, basically you are putting the material layer by layer and build it until the 3-meter height. So next slide. So this is examples of 3D printing buildings here. Can you see on left hand top here? This is a building they are printing. This is the before painting. This is a finished one. Finished one you can see on your bottom left here. See, look at here. It is highly economical also. You see here, there is an empty space here. This is not fully solid, it is. Fully solid, it's not fully solid. Empty space is there. In the empty space, what they do is they basically put the rebar. But all the buildings need stability. Stability is the most important for the building. So while building, while doing the 3D printing, you are not putting rebar. But afterwards, the empty spaces are here. Can you see the empty spaces here? In the empty spaces, basically there are voids there. You are going to put your rebar and the concrete. So you're making the building much more stable. So otherwise, the 3D printing is very difficult with the rebar. So rebar has to be put afterwards. And one more thing is, remember, 3D printing is not for making the slab. Slab on the top of the building. Flat surface, you cannot make it. 3D printing is very ideal for building the vertical walls only. For you are putting up a slab, still you use your conventional methods. Next slide. This is one more example. This is a basic data center in Heidelberg Materials in Germany. Look at here. This facade, the facade of the building is totally ruffled. You cannot do this one with a normal conventional costing. If you do for conventional building, this kind of rough surface, this kind of ruffled surface you have to produce means you have to have suitable formwork. The formwork cost is very high formwork cost. Whereas 3D building, we can print this kind of ruffled facade or facade with different design without a formwork. This is the main advantage of 3D printing here. This is the main advantage of 3D printing. It doesn't need a formwork. I'll come back to that. What is the cost of formwork and how much time it takes for formwork in Indian example? Just to give an Indian example here. So can you go for next one? So this is basically for barracks for the army here. Look at here. The problem still with the 3D printing is still there are some issues with the printers. Your printing material getting jammed in the printer. Operator problems are there because this requires one printer, one operator, and one person at mixing and one person at the pump here. Only 3 persons are enough here. 3 persons are enough. If you compare with the conventional casting, you need lot of people do the same job. Only 3 persons are enough. All the 3 has to be well trained. This is the drawback of this method. They have to be well trained. You cannot take anyone. He has to be well trained on operating the printer, operating the pump, and operating the mixers. Next one. This is one. You see, the advantage of 3D printing is not only the structural function, it also addresses aesthetics. This is a Thai folk craftsmanship. They have used the Thai folk craftsmanship and to produce buildings which are function as a structural applications also. Structural applications. You can see here the different sizes are there, different shapes are there. They are serving the both purpose. Aesthetics also for the structural applications. This is the major advantage of 3D printing, and the strength can be even up to 45 megapascal. That's nothing but 45 newtons per mm square. And you can see hollow spaces are there. These hollow spaces are basically for putting the rebar and the concrete because the building needs a stability. Stability is the most important. Stability against the wind, and stability against the external loads and side loads and moments and all that. Afterwards, we have to put rebar and grout with the conventional concrete. Next one. So this is your typical example in India. This is in IIT Madras, the left one, the top left one. There's a company called Icrtst. Icrtst is basically they provide end-to-end solution. They are expert in that. They view all end-to-end solution means they cover everything right from printing to right until the material. The material is the most challenging one. To design a right kind of mix to suit the requirement is a challenge one here. Whereas your electronics, your gantry, your crane, your printer, they are all quite advanced and there is no issue with that. Major issue is still today is the right kind of mix for the 3D printing. This is basically a 500 square feet structure. It was built in only 21 days. And this one is one more example. It is built in West Bengal. It is for the Garden Ridge shipbuilders and engineers. This is built as a technology demonstrator. It is basically 180 square feet building. It was built in only 10 days, So next one. So this is the 3D building. It's the tallest now. It's tallest in Asia. It is built in Saudi Arabia. It is almost 9.9 meters, means almost it has got 3 floors. The 3 floors are there. The first tallest building was built using 3D printer was in Germany by Perry. Perry is a German company. Then it was built in Saudi Arabia. Okay. The challenge with the 3D building is most of the people, when they build a 3D building, they try to use the local materials because sustainability is there. need not to import the material from outside. You have to use your local materials and use that local materials to design a best performing mix. Next one. This is the 3D printed castle. You see here, this is the castle you can see on your left hand side top. This has got several components. All these components are printed individually. Afterwards, they just assemble it by gluing it. They assemble it here. So this kind of aesthetics you cannot get it with normal concrete. Normal concrete making the formwork becomes much expensive for this kind of designs. Whereas when you print using a computer based 3D model, it's very easy to do it. Very easy to do it. Next one. So this one nowadays is not only buildings, you are also using 3D printing for making building elements. For example, in Singapore, all the buildings are not in situ casting. What they do is they bring the precast elements which are cast in the precast yard, and all those elements you bring it and assemble it, and they can build until 30-story building by using the precast elements. This is the beauty of the construction now. Nowadays the construction trend is such that they are not doing in situ construction at site. The major problem with in situ construction is the quality control is not there. Second thing is wastage. Wastage is very high, whereas in case of precast concrete the wastage is very less. Now the 3D printing can also be used for printing the elements, individual elements. These elements afterwards you take it to site and assemble it. One example is done in I think in Switzerland it is. These are the vertical columns. These columns are 2.7 meter tall. They were printed individually. Okay, in 24 hours they could print 9 columns. These columns they were put on the stage. Basically this was used for putting on the stage, and this dancer used to dance in between the column, front side, back side, and hide inside. This is basically meant for the dancer who did the performance on the stage. Next one. Next one, please. Yes. No, go back. You skipped one. You went to 2. Yes. This next one. Yes, this is the 3D printing for elements only, because I said the recent trend is using precast elements and assembling them at the site. So 3D printing is the one technology which is going in that direction. So these machines, these are printers having a big gantry crane. They can even print very big size. For example, even they can print 11 meter by 5 meter by 4 meter size of elements. They can print it. So this technology going in that direction now. Next one. So the most important thing is it is a 3D printing mix. This is a critical part of the 3D printing technology. The mix has to be robust. What do I mean by robust? Robust means if I change slight change in the mix, for example, water content, cement content, if I change, still should be able to perform and should be able to extrudable. If you have the mix with very high viscosity, we cannot extrude it. Your printer cannot work. There will be right kind of viscosity has to be there. Too low viscosity also not good. There is no stability for each layer. They start spreading. They cannot take the load. And buildability. Buildability is nothing but the stability. What do you mean by buildability? Buildability means you should be able to get uniform thickness for all the layers. This is the most important thing. And second thing is there should not be any out of plane deformation of individual layers. What happens is when you build layer 1, layer 2, layer 3, layer 1, if it's not stable, it will start spreading out. We call it as out of plane deformation. This is controlled by the yield of the material. Yield means there is no deformation below particular stress. That is called as the yield stress. The yield stress has to be very high. If the yield stress is very low, what happens? It cannot take the load of layer 2 and layer 3. Start deforming here. This is not good. It should maintain its stability. It should not change its shape. This is the most critical thing. And as you keep on building these layers, okay, the yield of the bottom layers should keep on increasing with the time. With the time, it keeps on increasing. You should be able to take more load and load without deforming. This is the most important thing. Second thing is workability retention. That means when you place layer 3 over layer 2, there should be chemical bond between this one, between layer 2 and layer 3. If there is no chemical bond is there is a cold joint will form, and that is potential for leakage. This is the most important thing. As long as you keep on placing the layers, the mix should be workable. There should not be any cold joint. Next one. So I already explained what is high yield stress. The basic mantra of designing 3D mix is you should have high yield stress, but high viscosity also. Viscosity should also be very high. Viscosity is nothing but the rheology basically. Rheology it is. Okay. If the viscosity is very low, what happens? There is no stability for the layers. If the viscosity is very high, you cannot extrude. So there is a compromise is there. You have to go for an optimum viscosity, which you can extrude also. At the same time, with that viscosity, it should not deform also. It should have stability also. So your basic mantra of the design is you should design a mix which has got high yield stress and high viscosity. Yield stress already explained you. Yield stress means basically it is no out of plane deformation. It is a stress below which no out of plane deformation. For example, how do you do for if you are civil engineers, you know it how to measure yield stress you for the soil. Basically, you perform your Vane shear tester. Vane shear test will get you what is the yield stress of the soil. It is same thing. It can be adopted here. So yield stress should increase with the time. This is a requirement here. As you keep on building the layers, okay, what happens is your yield stress of the bottom layer should keep on increasing with the time. Then only the building has got stability, okay, stability. And the mix should have open time. Open time is how long you can work with the mix. If the mix sets very fast, it's of no use. No use. You have to calculate what is your speed and you have to adjust your open time. Next one. This is an example. This is a typical example. For example, my y-axis is basically yield stress, and my x-axis is viscosity. Viscosity. This is in a poise. Okay. If I take this is my existing concrete mix. If I for the same water content, if I keep on increasing the cement, what happens? The yield stress will increase. Yield stress means once again the stress below which there is no deformation. If I want to increase it, increase the cement content. Or you increase your mineral additions. Mineral additions means basically your GGBFS and fly ash and all that. But if you use only fly ash, the increase is slightly less because the fly ash is round in shape. The yield stress will not increase as the cement will increase. It's slightly slow. It is slightly slow. But both of them increase the viscosity. You want higher viscosity also. Viscosity also should increase. Viscosity should not decrease. Now, in the other case, if I add water, remember here, if I add water to the mix, what happens? Your viscosity will reduce. It becomes very small. The mix starts spreading here. But of course, your yield stress also decrease. I don't want low yield stress. I want high yield stress and high viscosity. If I use silica fume also is a SCM, supplementary cementitious material. If I add silica fume, it will increase the yield stress, but at the same time, it also improves your plastic viscosity also. This is helpful. Nowadays, some people are adding basically some clay also. Clay also going to help you. It makes the mix much more robust. Now, you get nowadays what is called as high range water reducer. Okay, high range water reducer, if I add it, what happens? It reduces the yield. The mix will start easily moving. It's not good for the 3D. It is only good for self-compacting concrete. If you are designing some self-compacting concrete, we want the mix to easily move. In that case, the HRWR is useful, high range water reducer useful. And high range water reducer also increases your viscosity so that your aggregate won't sink in case of SCC. So this part is only useful for HRWR, is only useful for SCC, not for your mix for the 3D. 3D you don't use HRWR. To use this also you have to control it. HRWR will basically reduce your yield stress. Next one. And what is happening is this: most of the mixes are basically they are cement based. You are adding a lot of cement. So far, no one has tried with the concrete. Concrete means what happens? You will have a coarse aggregate. This is very difficult to extrude. Extrusion becomes a problem. At the most, they are using either cement paste or they are using the mortar there. No one has used so far concrete here. So cement content is very high because if you want to extrude it, your cement content has to be very high. When cement content is very high, your shrinkage is very high. But that can be controlled. You can control your shrinkage by using your synthetic fibers. Your synthetic fibers will help you to control the shrinkage because they hold the cracks there, hold the material, don't allow to shrink. Silica fume basically it controls your bleeding. You know, if the weight is more, what happens is the bottom layer it starts oozing out the water. Water starts coming out, just like a squeezing it is. Bottom layer gets squeezed because of the pressure. So this is not good. If you want to stop that one, basically people use the silica fume. Silica fume is the one which can stop your oozing out the water and it can control the bleeding also. Next one. So 3D printing mix assessment. This is the most important thing. See here, you have printed 3 layers here. The important thing is you have to look at the cohesive strength of the each layer and what is the strength at the bond. There should be good bonding between the layers, bonding layers. So what you have to do is you have to take specimens with interface and without interface and check for water penetration. Tomorrow you build a 3D building. If start leaking, the walls start leaking. There's no point. No point. Where it can from leak? It can leak from the joints between the layers if there is no proper chemical bond. So you have to check whether the interbonding adhesion is there or not. This is very critical. Next one. 3D printing assessment, you have to also look into interfacial bonds. For example, like in the picture I shown you here, how to find out your interfacial bond. You have to use a disc here and attach the disc using epoxy on the top layer, then you pull it out. There are four places where it can fail. It can fail at the joint of this layer, top layer and the middle layer. It can fail here. It can fail here. It can fail. The second layer itself also can fail. This is called as a cohesive failure of the material. It can also fail number 3. That is a joint between the epoxy and the top layer. It can also fail at number 4, the joint between your dolly, your disc, pulling disc and the epoxy. Suppose if the fails at number 4, that means that all the below are much more stronger than the failure load which you see for number 4. This is the interpretation. Next one. So what is the advantage? I said this is most important is material efficiency. 3D printing has no wastage, whereas if you do your in situ casting, lot of wastage is there. Second thing is a complex designs. Complex designs you can make it without using the formwork. This is the major advantage of 3D, and at the same time it gives the aesthetic potential. It has got very good aesthetic potential. I give examples also. If you have a ruffled facade of the building or design facade, you have to make a formwork. Formwork is not easy. Whereas if you use for 3D printing, the printer can do job without using a formwork. And look for a cost of India. When I say formwork, the formwork, when you put it here, you need a shoring. Shoring is the one which supports the formwork. Scaffolding the one which basically people. It is a place for people and material to transport when you're building. Scaffolding is outside the building. Shoring is below the formwork. So formwork and shoring and scaffolding, it almost costs 30 to 40% of the cost in India, taken from Indian only it is. And the time of assembling of the formwork is, and striking off, when removing the formwork is almost 60% of the total time of the casting. If you make a slab there, the total time of casting is only putting the formwork and striking of the formwork is 60% here, 60%. So you're going to have major saving here. So the only problem with the 3D building is you cannot build taller buildings. If you want to still build the taller buildings, what you can do is you have to use the rebars. In the gaps, you put the rebars and put the concrete there and stabilize the buildings. This is the solution there now. But 3D printing is basically not for basically urban areas. In urban areas, what happens? You go for tall buildings. If you're in the rural areas, you go for smaller houses. Smaller is community houses. If you print many community houses one together, maybe overall the cost might come down. If you do only one building, it may be very expensive. So it is ideal for large-scale community development. Community development is much more cost-effective. Okay, if you only do one building, it will be very expensive. Maybe in a cluster, if you do it 100 buildings or 50 buildings in a cluster, it might work out cheaper. Next one. And 3D building basically produces lighter component because in the entire wall you are not putting the material. It's a hollow basically. Hollow it is. Afterwards you have to grout it with the rebar, okay, to have only for stability. Otherwise the element 3D printed element on its own is much lighter. But nowadays, I said a good example. Nowadays, suppose you want to build a hotel. The technology has changed now. You're not going to build a hotel in one place like using the in situ casting method. What you're doing is, if the hotel has 220 rooms, each room you build it in a precast yard, each room. Afterwards, bring each room and just assemble there. That's how nowadays they're building the hotels. This unit, for example, which is being lifted and being placed there, it has got everything. It has got a toilet, everything is on bed, everything is done. Almost finished it is. Just to bring the unit and slot it there. Now the 3D printing is much ideal for this one. for building the hotels and all that. Even a house also you can build it. Only thing is you have to design properly all the bedrooms. You have to design all the your sitting room and design separately. Bring one by one, just slot it there. Nowadays, we're also going for toilets also. Earlier, they started with toilets, what is called as prefabricated bathroom units. Only the bathroom units they make it, but nowadays you can make the entire room also. The new technology is, we call it as precast, prefabricated volumetric construction, or PPVC. In case of PCVC, the entire room is prefabricated with all the facilities just to bring it and slot it here. This is a good example of building the hotels. Next one. Disadvantages, I said already, it's so many times repeated. You have to grout with the rebar. Where you go put in the rebar, you have to put the rebar in these gaps there. But the building needs stability. You put the rebar there after construction, after printing, and you pour the concrete there to get the better stability of the building. Next slide. Next slide, please. Yeah. So 3D printing are more suitable for outside urban area, in the rural areas. In urban areas, basically, the shortage of land is there. You go for tall buildings. So far, only 3-story building was built using 3D building. But there is a option is there. If you want to build more than 3 levels, you have to combine your conventional technology and 3D printing. That is also possible. That also possible here. The other challenge is your optimum mix design. The mix design has to be done by using local materials to make it cost effective, and its properties are there. The yield stress is the most important thing. The yield stress means the bottom layer should not deform. Out of form deformation should not be there while building. This is the most important thing. And second thing is your mix should be extrudable mix it is. Too high viscosity, you can't extrude. Too low viscosity, there is no stability. It cannot take the weight, it keeps on spreading there. So you have to trade-off is there. High viscosity, low viscosity, you have to choose a right viscosity. Next one. So you need a dedicated crew here. This one is the most important thing. It's not like conventional technology. Nowadays you can see the fisherman, there's no fish in the sea, he'll become a mason. This doesn't work here. The person has to be basically properly trained. At least you need a 3%. The person one is trained to operate the printer, 1% to operate the pump, 1% to operate the mixer. So at least 3 persons are required while printing one building. But the 3%, if you compare with the construction or conventional technology, which is much less manpower. And other advantage I tell you, workmanship here. Here, when you build a building, your quality of the building builds upon the workmanship of the worker. Here, nothing. There is no workmanship issue. Because it is printed by 3D printing. You will definitely have very good workmanship, provided your design is right, your mix is right. So other challenge is making a mix. I said this is 3D mix performance is very critical. The mix should be buildable, extrudable, should have proper rheology and vocabulary retention. This is the challenge here. And one more problem is, till today, for 3D printing, there is no field performance test. For example, if you know self-compacting concrete or normal basic slump, there is a performance test is there. For the CC, you have got L-box, you have got gearing, so many things. So the performance tests are there. There is no performance test for the 3D printed mix here. People are doing their own way because there is no 3D printing performance standards are not there, and it has become very difficult to convince your builders, your contractors, your developers and owners also, because there is no performance based standards are not there. Okay, then last thing is, if you want to build a building with a rebar and aggregator, okay, stones, very difficult it is. It cannot be done with it is done with concrete. Most of the people are going for mortar, or it is only cement paste only, okay, or cement paste having some SCMs. They are modified mixed designs, they use it, but so far no one has tried using concrete because of the difficulty in the extrusion. Next slide. So conclusion is 3D printing is definitely a promising technology for future, because in future our main aim is to cut down the manpower at the site, and second thing is You have to make basically the construction industry is much more labor oriented. People are thinking to cut down the manpower. That's why the 3D printing is taking its course in the construction industry. Come to a place like Singapore, is very high. Manpower costs are very high there, very high there. Definitely these countries are looking for cutting down the manpower. They have to import the people from outside in construction industry. They depend on the outside overseas manpower. So for them, this is definitely suitable. Even for India also, I don't say India also. India also it is definitely suitable because the productivity is very high. The building can be printed much faster here, much faster, much faster. Whereas in situ costing takes a long time. As I said, there are no international codes of standard. That becomes a major issue to convince your builders, your owners, and developers. The people don't believe also. According to COBOD, a Denmark-based global leading manufacturer of 3D printing technology, they say that only 130 buildings larger than 10 square meter have been printed worldwide until the year 2022. This is a very small number. The problem is the same issue here, convincing the builders, convincing the owners, because there's no proper standards are there. This is the problem. Second thing is people think that if you build only one building, it's very expensive. Yes, this is definitely expensive. If you build many buildings at a time, for community housing and all that, definitely it might be cost effective. Okay, next slide. So thank you for your attention. I think I went very fast because I had to go somewhere else. I got another meeting.
Thank you for your valuable presentation, Vikas. I hope this presentation was very useful for the attendees. So thank you.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your insightful presentation. We are really grateful for sharing your valuable insights.
No, I'm not interested.
Did he go offline?
No, I'm there.
Thank you.